Have you ever heard the following phrase? Love your enemy, pray for your enemies, and thought to yourself, get somebody else to do it. Respectfully, I'm going to respectfully decline that particular invite. Okay, great. I have a message from the Lord and okay? Because what we not about to do is carry anything in ignorance that could potentially block our blessings. Oh, we getting blessed. I'm talking about blessed. Fred Hammond didn't sing that whole song for us to not comply. You understand? So we are going to talk about it. And at the end of this, you are going to learn how to authentically love your enemy. That's going to be good. But before we do, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to this channel, and then we are going to get into it. Okay? But go ahead and go. Like, subscribe, go. Love your enemy. Listen, prior to this conversation, because this is real-time revelation for me too, maybe about a couple of hours before this, I too used to see loving your enemy as, she's not coming to my wedding. You want me to invite someone who does not have the best interests for me into something that I'm truly passionate about? That sounds oxymoronic. And then someone who has harmed me, you want me to be like, I pray all things go well for you, and that you just get your heart's desires, and that you've really, really progressed with that disgusting soul inside of you. It sounds exactly like that to me prior to this conversation, right? And then God dropped a gem on me, and I was like, ooh, why isn't this taught? So let's break it down. Love. The world would describe it as a strong, intense interest or feeling, right? But we're going to take the first part. Let's say it's a strong, intense interest. That's what the world said. Love. We see biblical proof that love drives you to an action. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. You understand? So as far as the world is concerned, cool. But the way that God says is, if you love something, it would drive you to an action. Love made Jesus stay on the cross for people who he knew, y'all are not going to accept me. But the love for his Father carrying out the command made him stay on that cross. You follow me? That's love. Your enemy. What is an enemy? It's the ops. It's the opposing team. Correct. But let's go ahead and give it its pure definition. An enemy is anyone who is actively opposed or hostile to someone or something. So what does that look like? That looks like, listen, I put up certain boundaries to keep my peace, and this is what keeps me peaceful. And then you have someone who is actively aware, but yet opposed to, or has a hostile kind of, oh, you acting funny, or you this, that, and the third. They have become and positioned themselves as the enemy to something you are assigned to something you've been instructed to do, to something that God literally purposed for you to do. So you have a business idea and someone is like, oh, they don't really make no money. They don't really do this. And you know how long that's going to take. And so they have positioned themselves to be an opposer to the thing that God has for you. So they've positioned themselves to be an enemy. See, the problem is most of us haven't really identified the enemies in our lives. Yeah, by the time that you really, really zoom out and look at your life with a true, humble assessment, you'll start to see, yo, your mother is your enemy. Your father's been your enemy for quite some time. There's nothing that you can do right. Every time that you think you can do something, it kind of was backed down by his idea or his assessment of it. Something was always stupid. Something you like, that sounds like my cousin. That sounds like my mentor. That sounds like somebody that I care for. But now that I look at it, you don't care for the thing that God assigned me to. You don't care for the wiring and how God positioned me in life. Every time I look around, you are opposing the thing that God gave to me or assigned to me. Technically, that is an enemy. So when we put it together, love your enemy, there should be an action for the person who is opposing what God called you to or assigned you to. Now we're dealing with a different set of cards. So now, what does that look like practically? That looks like coworker is super negative. Every time you step in a room or a situation, there is a smell when you come in and when you leave, because you leave the funk there, right? There also is anything that someone does that you like, it is apparent that you are opposing or that you are hostile to something that I'm called to do. And you know what? Because of the love that I have for God, because of the love that I have for no longer feeling that, the love, the great interest is going to drive me to do an action. What is that action? Whatever God put in your heart. God is calling you to either intercede or intercept something. So he's either asking you to intercede through prayer or he's asking you to intercept something through a position. When you think about the midwives that were helping Moses' mother deliver the baby, they were intercepting. Because Pharaoh said, go ahead and take the babies and throw them in the Nile River. And they were like, not going to do it. And so they intercepted what the enemy was trying to do. So any other time you look at Ananias and Saul before he became Paul, God said, yo, Ananias, go ahead. I don't put some fish scales on Saul. It's a long story, but go ahead and pray over him so that I can change his perspective and use him in a different way in life. Ananias was like, who? Buddy that is coming to town to kill folks? Sir, I'm not doing it. Time out. Ananias, you're a disciple. So God didn't just choose anybody. He chose somebody that he was purposed for this, that he actually has a connection to you. He didn't even come to you in a dream. He didn't even have someone come to Ananias and say, look, thus saith the Lord, A, B, and C. He spoke to Ananias directly. So I'm not just choosing anyone. I'm choosing my go-to. We need a stature that looks like, here I am, Lord, send me. And so if God's looking through the pantry of his creation, if he's looking on earth and he's like, who can I? You want it to be that he calls you and you like, you need to be able to have that connection that when God is like, it's a problem. Oh, wait, I got the solution. Ananias, come here. We need to go ahead and go to Straight Street. To Judas's home. It's a man from Tarshish. And you need to be able to have that connection that God knows it's a problem, but I got a purpose finder. It's a problem, but I got the solution. That's a problem, but it's okay because we getting ready to go ahead and do something in love to infect that enemy. So again, what are you really being called to do when you're asked to love your enemy? God is asking you, out of all the things that I can do, I can't pray for this person. Like, let that really sink in. God was able to blind Saul. He was able to put the fish scales on. He was able to contain him for 3 days. God wasn't able to pray. And so he's looking for someone else as he's holding back whatever it is. He's looking for someone to go ahead and do what God can't do, which is I'm going to pray on your behalf. That's not God's role. God sets it up. God will curate it. God will make the perfect storm. But you got to come in here and get the access to God to do what he needs to do. You pray for him. I will change him. You pray for this. I will send the plagues to Egypt. You pray for that coworker. I will make this whole thing peaceful. You pray for, when you pray, God does his part. It looks like it is a interception. So stop looking at, I can't deal with such and such. That is self-awareness that you know how much proximity you need to an enemy, someone who is actively opposing or hostile to someone or something. It's good to know the proximity because Jesus did it. He wasn't ace boom coon with Judas. That's not what it is, sir. We're not building our cornerstone on you. Have a nice day. You understand? But he still knew you're important to Calvary. You're important to this mission. And even knowing what you about, I'm going to keep proximity, but I'm also going to keep you around. That's a different kind of anointing. God is not asking everybody to do that. But what he is asking you is, if you don't like the way that feels, and it actually is impacting you, do something about it so I can do the rest. Because Ananias, while you over here scared, Saul's killing people and he got the priest. All of that is correct. But what you forgot, Ananias, is that you are a believer. And Saul is out here killing believers. It looks like you're impacted by this particular issue that the enemy is carrying out. So spoiler alert, read you some Acts 9 for this story in full detail. Spoiler alert, the stuff that God is stirring you up about, you connected to. It's in your family. It's at your job. I know you feel like, this supervisor is right. But if leadership is doing that at work, what you think they're doing at home? Just imagine, you pray for someone to feel more peaceful, to have a softer heart, whatever it is that you feel led to pray. And not only is the professional life better, but their bloodline is changed because you were the interceptor for that being carried on and carried out through their descendants. You mean to tell me God can count on you in that way? You mean to tell me when he purposed you, he knew that he can count on you? Go ahead and love your enemy. Action towards the opposing thing. Doesn't that even sound different? When I was giving this off, I was like, why hasn't this been taught? Because we don't need to be walking around this earth thinking that we're doing things accordingly. And it's not even truly what God is asking you to do. He's not asking you to make such and such your godmother of your children. He's not asking you to invite somebody to your house. He's not the way that people have given their examples, like God will have it where someone is mistreating you and then you have to give them a ride to work. It's like, listen, let every man give an account of their own life. God knows how you're wired. He's not asking you to do nothing that looks like you are being phony and it's not true, because God works in authenticity. So, but what he will ask you is, do you care enough about that bloodline to pray over that person? Do you care enough about the outcome, that the enemy is actually winning through this person, that the enemy's plan is being carried out because you won't carry out mine? Like, now that should make you be like, yo, time out, flag on the play. Huddle. What we need to do? I need to, bet. Yeah, put me in, coach. Like, now I'm not playing because I'm GOD'd up. You understand? And the last thing I'm going to do is let my feelings, let my home team down. And we got home court advantage. My daddy made this whole earth. How the enemy running rapid in here? What we doing? You understand? My daddy made this earth. Stop playing with him. Stop playing with me. Stop playing with us. I'm not playing no more. Understood? So take this as your challenge, as everything that has bothered you, zoom out and identify the enemy and who's working for him. Who's the op? And where's the opportunity to change that for good? Because after Ananias, Acts 9, went and prayed over Saul, God changed him to Paul. He was a powerful instrument to the whole movement. Wrote almost half the new, or more than half of the New Testament. And he never was the same after that. Imagine you being the Ananias in modern day time. That should mean something to you. It does to me. And with that, I feel like you got what you needed. You also should know, outside of doing these videos every Thursday, she has a podcast. Strive in, the letter N, inspire. Strive in, inspire. Listen, she uses what needs to be used so that the enemy remains defeated. You understand? Yes, because you should be going on created, the number 2, multiply.com for all the things that are all the things. She gonna use this oil. Here I am, Lord. Send me. Boom, boom. I was going to do it, but I didn't want it to be like, That noise was loud. Okay, calm down. I considered you. But listen, you have like podcasts to look at, websites and merch to look at. I don't stand in the way of ministry, okay? Because if God placed it on your heart to be like, I want that ministry to grow, I'm a sow seed into that. God led me to do it. Go ahead and go on Patreon. Patreon.com/strive, the letter N as in Nancy, inspire, all the things. I'm giving you everything, because God told me to. But I'm going to go ahead and let me go. We talk later. Every Thursday to be exact. All right. Later.